Good evening and welcome to the Magpie Circle. I've given in to social media. All we talk about is Wrexham at the minute, the duel between ourselves and Wrexham. Everywhere you look on social media, this, that, and the other. Wrexham, 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 Notts County, Notts County, Notts County. I suspect it's not dissimilar. I was going to say in Hollywood land, but I better not say that. In North Wales. So I thought tonight we will get friend of the show, albeit big Wrexham fan, Nathan from the Rob Ryan Red podcast on, and we can chat tonight a little bit about the banter between the two teams, Wrexham's perspective on this, and get your thoughts on the National League title showdown duel. We'll also talk a little bit about Eastleigh last night, great comeback from behind result. We'll talk a bit about going to Barnet on Saturday, and we'll also talk a bit about how nervous are we ahead of tomorrow morning trying to get tickets to go to the aforementioned North Wales. I sincerely hope that we can all be accommodated in terms of season ticket holders, but sadly, I suspect not. So I'm hoping it won't be too much of a debacle tomorrow and that the ticket office computer holds up. People queuing, I believe, from before 7 o'clock tomorrow morning to get tickets. Let's see how we get on. But Nathan's time is very valuable. Nathan, Rob Ryan Red, welcome again to you.
Thank you for having me on. We're both smiling, both think we're going to win the league, and one of us is going to be bitterly disappointed in a couple of weeks. But there you go. Right now, all is well.
You've got what looks like a scarf on the background and a coat on your leg. I don't know whether you're making a sharp exit. Are you somewhere?
No. Lots of Wrexham scarves and lots of different things. No sharp exit, Paul. I'm happy to chat about what it's like to be top of the league, which, as we are right now, is a great place to be. Great place to be.
What a great riposte, right? And as I've told all our lot, respect. Okay, we show respect tonight. Let's just whiz through everyone who's on. Ni Cam got his cup of tea ready. Ian Cooksey last night. Second half was the best 45 minutes since we have been in this league, in my humble opinion. Keith Mullins, it certainly sounded like it. Ian, evening all from regular on the show, Ian Birchnell. How's Anderlecht treating you, Ian? Ian Cooksey, Keith, the effort and the willingness to play for each other was immense. John Doe, evening all from Dale Pikett. Ian Cooksey, as for the league title, Notts all the way. Ian Birchnell, is Nathan nervous for the playoffs? It was all coming in now, isn't it? Matt Cook, what impressed me the most was that the penalty miss didn't kill us off. In the previous 3 seasons, we'd only got 1 point max from that game. I wouldn't disagree. Hello from the big tropics of Newark, Ohio, says Keith Mullins. You see, we get them from Ohio. You just get them from Hollywood, Nathan.
I was about to say, that's Keith's betraying the American code here, that it requires you to support Wrexham as an American.
Keith Mullins, keeping our seat warm. Nathan, good evening from Duncan Comrie. What a second half, says Chris Jordan. Evening all from one of our regulars, Jurgen Halligan. Evening, lads, from Dave Woolley. Ian Birchnell, the fan, not the ex-head coach. No place I'd rather be than Nottingham. Nathan, right, yes, you are quite right. You're top of the table. What's the mood of the Wrexham fans? Because, at Notts, we keep churning it out. We're both going to be on course for over 100 points. But there's no guarantee. Depending which way you are, it's a 50-50 toss of the coin at the minute.
Right. I mean, I was looking back. I think it was the 2014-15 season. Barnet win the league. I think they won it with 92 points. Obviously, both of us will surpass that. But Bristol Rovers finished, I think it was 91. I think they lost that on the final day. They finished a point behind, and they did win the playoffs. So a lot of us are looking at when we got 98 points and we finished second to Fleetwood. We didn't do well in the playoffs. We ran out of, emotionally, we couldn't get it together fast enough. And I think the fear among both fan bases is what's causing this, constant checking of other results and sniping every time there's any tweet about Notts County on a Wrexham account and Wrexham, all this sort of stuff, which I think's all very good natured. And there's clearly no, embedded rivalry between these two fan bases. It's purely just been born out of this one automatic. But I think, I was looking at that game last night, and I even said it on podcast I recorded earlier, Rob Ryan Red, about I actually think you play better football to watch, but Wrexham just grind out results, and at the end of the day, no one will care. at all what manner it's achieved. People like Ben Tozer, Ollie Palmer were signed to get us out of this division. Right now, we're in the driving seat. I think you have to say that. Game in hand. Yeah, and I'd agree. I don't know who said the comment, but I would agree that there are lots of matches this season where Wrexham last season or the year before wouldn't have got any points, and Notts County, I feel the same. I feel like a penalty miss, you might have gone under last night. Eastleigh are no mugs. A lot of their results, they've conceded twice in the last 8 games. So, there's just the mentality of both of these teams. They're driving each other on and they're making each other better. That's why we've got this epic title race, is that each team is very well aware of, Wrexham's players were very well aware of what happened before when you played Bromley and we played Maidenhead. And I'm sure, Notts County's players were very well aware on the bus back of Mark Howard's error in the 90th minute, whatever it was, against Maidenhead. So, yeah, I think when we both go up, fingers crossed that's the way it goes, hopefully we can look back at what has been a freak of a season.
I tell you, your new signing, Mullins Penn, second only to Macaulay Langstaff. I mean,
Second only to Notts County angry at any penalty decision. Now it's baffling.
Mullins Penn, what a signing! No one had ever heard of him, but he's banged a few in this season, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's fabulous as a player. But it makes me laugh, seeing all these. Mullin gets a penalty and whatever, and Notts County, from what I can see, Notts County get tons of penalties. Every time I see it, that notification comes up, Notts County penalty. And what I would say, I was saying to you before I came on about, I think really, Wrexham will have a couple of calls, egregious calls. I think the one against Dagenham and Redbridge where Langstaff is clearly rugby tackled to the ground, a tackle that wouldn't be out of place in a Six Nations game. That's probably one of the most egregious I've seen all season of any game. But, there have been loads of times where I've been fuming at referees and decisions, and that's the level we're at. I think ultimately you just hope that in these final few games, you don't get anything like that. And you don't on Easter Monday get anything that ruins it like that. I know I could say, oh, if there's a horrible call against Notts, we get it. But ultimately, I don't want it to be, I want to go up, but I don't want it to be soured by, some rubbish decision, because we've been there. We've been on the end of rubbish decisions, and, so have you. So let's just hope we get a clean refereeing bill from here. But this Mullins Penn nonsense, you need to stop, Paul. It's getting out of hand. You're going to be feeding these commenters here. It's getting silly. It's not true. They're all penalties, clear-cut penalties.
It does remind me, you're too young. Back in the 80s when Liverpool were the team, there was a big debate then about Liverpool getting loads and loads of penalties. And Kenny Dalglish, great one-liner reply, says, well, the reason we get more penalties than anyone else is because the ball's in the opposition box more than any other team, and I am sure, the ball will be in the opposition box when you play them more than everybody else, with the possible exception of Notts. And particularly the way, and I don't knock this, that the long throws, all of that, it's about scoring goals and winning games. So, and all the Notts fans will tell you, I am totally into end result. If Notts County are to finish above Wrexham this season, it will have in these last 8 games, it will have nothing to do with passes completed, ball retention, forward incursions, and other statistics that we can have a habit of dropping in to say we're top of the league. Last year, when we got beat by Grimsby, and there was a stat came out 48 hours later that we had made more forward forays into the final third than any other team in the country. I guarantee you, Paul Hurst at Grimsby, having mugged us in the 93rd minute and then in stoppage time, couldn't give a damn. So I think one of the things at the minute, I think the way that you play football is set up formularically, and it's clearly why Phil Parkinson's doing it, to achieve success. We're going about it a slightly different way, and it is real nip and tuck. Real nip and tuck. But no, you won't get any criticisms from me about styles of play. There's no right way and there's no wrong way.
No.
Aesthetically, there might be a more pleasing way to some people, but there's not a right and there's not a wrong way.
Absolutely not. But it's nice. It's nice if you can knock it around. And we've played some better stuff. Getting in people like Andy Cannon will elevate the quality. I went to Dagenham and was quite nervous at going away to Dagenham. Always been a ground where, last season on the final day we got thumped 3-0. I think that's still Phil Parkinson's heaviest defeat as Wrexham manager, a 3-0 defeat. Um, Year before we end up drawing there, we missed the playoffs. Dean Keats gets the boot and they get rid of about 10 players. So always been a place we've struggled at. We go there. We've got a midfield of Elliot Lee, who's come down from the Championship, Andy Cannon, who's come down from the Championship, and James Jones, who came down from League One. I mean, they absolutely look like prime Barcelona. Dagenham were terrible, which is bad news for you, given they actually turned up at Meadow Lane and got
Yeah,
away
they
with it.
did turn up. Yeah.
But it, if you give these Wrexham players quality, they can knock it around and look incredible. But I don't think any Wrexham fan is that fussed. But, the results are clearly working. Phil Parkinson's won 65 of his 100 games for Wrexham. We're top of the league. I'm seeing comments about, they think second's a good place to be. And that's how I felt a year ago, last season. I felt like really second, all the pressure is on the team that's up top. And, being the kind of hunter is a good place to be. But as well as I do, as the games tick down, you kind of want to have it in your control. And as long as it's in Wrexham's control, I don't think anyone can sort of be too satisfied of a Notts County persuasion. So we'll see if it's within 3 points come the Easter Monday game, then that will be, one of the biggest games this league has ever seen, I think.
Um, what is the mood among the rank and file Wrexham supporter base? Is it we're going to win this? Is it crikey, not we should be 20 points clear? Crikey, Notts County are on our tails, they're chasing us down. Can't believe we've got this. We're going to blow it. A la Stockport, Grimsby. Grimsby did us both, didn't they, last year?
Mm.
Is there how much nervousness? How much confidence is there?
Oh, loads. I'd say like 90% nerves, and it's
Really?
not.
Yeah.
It's not a knock on the players we've got because they don't look nervous. They look, I mean, and from what I know from from that first team, they are very confident that they will get it done. As I'm sure if I asked Notts County's players, they would
Yeah.
also be very confident. Um, but you know what it's like. Fans are just very scared of what second place would look like, and that would look like a home playoff game and then a Wembley final. But you're seeing Chesterfield reload now. I mean, we beat Barnet 7-5. We've got to play them again. You play them at the weekend. They're no mugs. Woking came to the Racecourse. We scraped a 2-2 draw. You never know. Grimsby is the prime example that we both thought we had those games sewn up. We didn't. We lost, and they're up now in the FA Cup quarterfinals. So, I think there's that nervousness, and you can feel it in the atmosphere. That there's just a fear. It's hard to enjoy this title race actually, and that's a weird thing to say when you have 91 points, but right now the fear of missing out, I think, is just terrifying the life out of everyone. So that's what I would say. I think there's because you're saying the confidence, but people go, "Oh, Bromley, that's a really tricky game, plastic pitch. They're all about 7 foot tall. Notts County struggled there, and we did that with Dagenham, and then we'll probably do that with I don't know, Oldham on a bit of a resurgence. Then we've got to go to Barnet and we've got to play yourselves. So people can always find reasons to be scared, in every game left. So I wouldn't say at all there's this air of confidence that, oh, we're in firm control and Notts County are in our mirrors now and we're going to ride off into the sunset. I think people are thinking, are we going to need to go down to Torquay and get a result? And if so, will we have the mentality? Will we have the bottle to get over the line? Because you saw Stockport at the end of last season stutter a little bit, and I don't care how professional you are and how many
Yeah.
promotions you've had. It's human nature to get a bit twitchy when the stakes are so high, and also two huge crowds. Right, when I was listening to the commentary last night of Radio Notts, I felt like you could sense it a little bit. You missed the penalty, and while there was I saw
Yeah.
some of the celebrations of trying to get the crowd G'd up. It's natural, perfectly natural, but I don't know about Notts fans, but Wrexham fans are finding it quite hard to enjoy, I think.
Yeah. Um, we were talking very briefly off air. Um, this is your 15th season out of
Thanks
the
for the
Football
reminder.
League.
Yeah, 15.
I was talking to a Notts fan, a fellow Jurassic era, and he spoke to me. I won't say who it was, and he said, um, and I would probably echo these sentiments. I'm 59. I haven't seen Notts play in the top flight of English football. I went to Wrexham in 1980 on the night Johnny Owen passed away boxing. Always remember this. And we drew 1-1 at
Mm.
Wrexham. And that was the year Notts got promoted into the top flight under Howard Wilkinson and Jimmy Cyril. So inevitably you draw comparisons with that. And it is quite, for a certain age group, I think, quite humiliating that Notts have spent 4 seasons in the National League. 15 doesn't bear thinking, because Wrexham are not, and I don't want to choose small football league clubs. I'm not going to name any, but we all know who they are in terms of supporter base,
Right.
infrastructure, history, and tradition. But for Wrexham, 15 years in the National League, don't bear thinking about.
It's I don't know. When I see fans and I say this respectfully, losing their minds over 2 or 3 years at National League level, and it can get worse. Trust me, you can get. I have friends of mine who friends of mine who are Oldham fans, and came down naively. I have to say, got the takeover, got Abdullah out the door. They thought, okay, that's that nonsense out the way. And then you get to the circus that is the Vanarama National League, and you lose at Bromley, and you lose at Maidenhead or wherever they lost. And it's hard. It's really hard, and it's really easy to we're looking at Scunthorpe now. They've kind of got it together a bit late, but they're at risk of going down again.
Yeah, I think they
Stockport
will
came back
come
from the
back to
National
them.
League. And Stockport came back from the National League North, and they're on course to get to League One. If you get your house in order, you can do well. But if you don't, and Wrexham have not had they've not had much money. I know they have it now with the takeover, but for a while we used to have a campaign called Build the Budget where fans would chuck in their own money on a match day, and all season
Okay.
long they would build the budget, and that would be our transfer budget at the end of the season. So you can
Oh,
imagine the kind of players you would be able to get with fans chucking in pocket money and a bit of cash here and there. You can't get a Paul Mullin or an Ollie Palmer for that, or a Macaulay Langstaff or a Ruben Rodriguez. So you always had a ceiling, and we would always try and punch above our weight. Expectation where Wrexham should be getting in the playoffs. And I speak to former managers now. They were all saying if fans actually knew the budget they had, it was a mad, like bottom half of the league kind of budget. So yeah, 15 years. I mean, I'm 20. I've just turned 27. So you think 15 years? I was just starting high school by the time we were getting relegated. And you think our last promotion, if you want to go even further back, the last time we actually got promoted, 2002, 2003. So a long time ago, 20 years ago, since we last got promoted. So for most young fans in their early 20s or whatever, they've only known the decline. There's never been an upwards. This is the only upwards. So people say to me, "Oh, why do you think there's more Wrexham shirts on the street now and less Liverpool, Everton, and why are these fans coming back?" It's because it's the first time in over a decade that there's actually you know, shoots of life that the people can actually see Wrexham going on an upward curve. So yeah, I mean, don't even think about it, Paul. You'll give yourself nightmares if you think about 15 years at this level. You won't be able to sleep tonight if you start thinking about 15 years at this level. Trust me, it's horrible.
Chris Jordan says most of the arrogant banter on social media seems to have morphed into mutual respect as this season has gone on. Craig Simmons, always enjoying hearing Nathan on this podcast. What's his score prediction for Easter Monday? We'll come to that in a bit. Ian Birchnell, Andrew Blatherwick, we've both had unreal seasons. Ian Birchnell, if you need a win at Torquay, they'll let you have it, as they hate us down there. Gary Johnson and all that. Ian Cooks, Eastleigh's manager, commented last night on how the Notts fans lifted the side. Atmosphere last night was phenomenal, says NI Cam. It's our 12th man, and I'm sure it will be exactly the same. I was going to say the Racecourse ground, but I'm sure it's not the Racecourse ground anymore. Okay. What? So, well, I'm conscious of your time because I know you got. I know
No,
you
you're
live.
fine. You're absolutely fine, Paul.
Yeah. Where? I mean, for me. Okay, and I've said this to many people on our podcast. This is kind of just a hunch from me. I think the biggest danger to Notts at the moment is that you've kind of exploited your games in hand largely, gone in front of us. And depending on any given weekend or midweek where we may be playing, you're not, vice versa, you kick off first or whatever. I think if you get to 7 points clear of us, then I think there's a real danger for us. Um, for me, we have to hang in on your coattails within about 4 points. Yeah, I think if we could stay within 4 points, going to your place on that Easter Monday and win, that's a massive. Don't get me wrong, but I think if we are point or two apart into the last 3 or 4 games, don't ask me why. Don't ask me why. I have quite a positive hunch that we would see out those games better than Wrexham. No rhyme, no reason, just a hunch. My concern at the minute is that I don't see you dropping many points before we play you. My concern is we've got to just hang in on your coattails because you're going to play one midweek when we aren't, yeah? So that would take you to 4. What we really can't afford is a slip up and you winning. I think if you get to 6, 7 points, then I think I think we're in the cart.
I mean, we got to 7 points, didn't we? And you've won back-to-back games now.
yes,
So, it's so in fairness, that was a test of your mentality. You went 1-0 down to
yeah,
Dorking.
but I think one of those was
Right.
level points, and then we played a later kickoff to get it to 4. So I
That
think
was
the
it. Right.
the worst we've kind of been is 4 points. Yeah,
Mm.
I think
But
if
for
that
me,
grows above that,
you were
I think
1-0
we're
down.
struggling.
You were 1-0 down to a side you should have been beating, and theoretically at that point 7 points adrift. And I think someone was talking about the atmosphere there. You know, you did respond. You responded well in those home games. We went there. I think we felt a little bit unfortunate. You did us with a set piece at Meadow Lane, and our keeper makes some good saves, but there were chances for us to square it and score some goals. Yeah,
Ultimately, Langstaff
yeah,
for me was the difference that night. He just
yeah,
had a little bit of something in the box that
yeah,
unlocked your defence, and ours held firm. Would be
yeah.
how I would.
And I think you're right though. I think it's an interesting one because you could go through every game's obviously
Yeah,
massive, but this weekend we're away at Bromley and you're away at Barnet.
correct.
That's a huge because both sides will look at that thinking there
They're
could
both
be a
difficult
swing.
games. They're
Yeah,
both difficult.
because if we drop points at Bromley and you beat Barnet, that'll feel psychologically massive.
Yeah,
And if you drop points at Barnet, which is obviously possible, and we get full points at Bromley, that'll be huge for us.
exactly.
If both take points, then we are where we are. That Alti game is interesting. The one you've had postponed because
Correct.
if that comes in the final week, we're playing. Our only other game in midweek now is Yeovil on the 18th of April. So that'll be
That's
after we
right.
play you, after we play Barnet, and then Yeovil. And that's I think people are penciling that in, not pencil in case it needs erasing. That could be where if we get a result against you, beat you or whatever, that could be the one where it's clinched. It's so hard to work out really because we're never quite going to be on the same number of games. You're not going to play when we're playing Oldham and all that sort of stuff. And I
Yeah.
imagine BT get involved with late kickoffs and bits and
Yes,
bobs. But
absolutely.
ultimately, I feel that you're going to have to come to the racecourse and win. I feel
I think
anything
that's
else
most
other than
likely.
that. I think if you don't get maximum points there, Wrexham will feel very confident that you've got a Yeovil home game, you've got a Borehamwood home game, and then you've got Torquay. And hell, by the time you get to Torquay, it could be all over. So yeah, will that play into our? We're unbeaten at home all season. Will you attacking us play into our hands? I've no idea. I've really no idea because that'll be a battle of mindset and mentality more than anything else. If you can quieten the crowd for half an hour, that away crowd will be bouncing. You know what it's like. The away crowds are always well up for it because you're overcompensating because there's 9,000 Wrexham fans and 1,000 Notts fans.
Are we still in the
Uh,
same position, Nathan? Because I know
You'll have
obviously
the top
ground
and the
development,
bottom, I think. You'll have the top and bottom of yes, so
the
the kind
old
of the main
days.
stand.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
yeah,
main stand, yeah. But this
yeah,
season we've not given the top and bottom, I don't think, to any team. I don't think so. I think you might be the first. Someone will correct me if I'm
yeah.
wrong on
We
that,
we
but
were
I'm
in the
pretty
old
sure.
stand down the side of the pitch last time, as I remember it, which
Yeah, that's
wasn't
the
a bad
one.
view, to be
That's
fair.
that's the one, and I think the long term plan will probably be to stick away fans behind the goal or at least partially behind the goal when we get the Cop done, which is for 24-25. So hopefully, when we're both in League One or whatever the case may be, then. But I saw Notts. I was going to say this because I saw Notts getting a bit of flack for this Jimmy Cyril stand, isn't it, where you put the away fans,
Yeah.
and people saying how empty it was and all that sort of thing, which is always very silly to me. You don't get anything on attendance figures or empty seats or whatever. But it does baffle me that whole stand is given to away fans. That it's not, surely there must be loads more Notts fans that want to go to the game and I don't know. Maybe has it always been that way? Is it just something that they've?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting debating point, and different chairmen, different owners have approached it in a different way. Um, Previously, we have had that and put and for a long period of time, up till about 10 years ago, the away fans used to be in the Cop, believe it
Right.
or not, and then we kind of moved what you would call the noisier, as in the non-over 50s brigade, like me, from the main stand. They kind of congregate in the Cop and give you that atmosphere, suck the ball into the net. But the consequence of that is the Jimmy Cyril, look, fundamentally, thanks to Derek Pavis, legendary chairman, gets no respect. He built an 19,000 capacity stadium. Brilliant. And it's
Mm,
better than Bournemouth's in the Premier League. It's
right.
probably not dissimilar to Swansea's ground as well, when they built that new build. Swansea's might be a little bit bigger. If Notts won 4 promotions, that's all Fantasy Island for a minute, Notts would hardly need to spend a penny on that stadium. That's one of the beauties of Derek got that right. The irony is, we dropped out the top flight of English football as he was building the damn thing, and we've never been back because it's kind of a Premier League ready stadium. Right? We just haven't got, we haven't got, Boris Johnson parlance. We haven't even got a football. Well, hopefully, we've got a football league ready team, but no higher than that. We tend to give it away fans. Yeah, I think there is an issue, or there's a saving to be made with security costs and all the rest of it. I think as soon as you start putting Notts fans over there alongside away fans, our stewarding costs would rocket. Yeah,
Right. That's
because if
fair.
you've got 2 or 3,000 Wrexham, we will then have a good couple of thousand of our fans that will fancy being there, and then it can be banter, it can call it what you are. So there are, I think, some safety and security
Just I totally get that, but just for argument's sake, if I can't even believe I'm going to utter these words, but here I am on a Notts County podcast. If you were at home and you could win the league on the final day, surely it would be worth fitting the bill just to get an extra X amount in if you could lift the trophy or or,
Oh
or
yeah,
whatever.
look,
You know.
there are precedents, and we've had fan fixtures that our former chairman, whose name should, Voldemort. To be fair, he did transform the supporter base, and he had like a cheap fans game, and we
Right.
got 17,000 for Crew.
Right.
So
Right.
obviously, all the Notts fans were in there, and Crew had a little bit stuck on the end.
Sure.
When we played Coventry in the playoffs 5 or 6 years ago, likewise, we do open it up for those kind of big games and special games.
Anyway,
Uh,
that was just a side
yeah, no,
point.
no,
It's
yeah.
because I thought it obviously unnecessary stick, and yeah, I just thought I was just curious. That's what I would say. I'm looking at all these various comments here that are
Yeah.
making me laugh. Some of them.
Dave Woolley and
Sure.
Andrew Blatherwick, yeah, kind of. I think they're being a tad sarcastic. I would hope they are. Pavis sold the team to build the stand. He only took us from the third tier to the top flight of English football. Dave, gloss over that one. Andrew Blatherwick, he only sold Short, Draper, and Johnson. Yeah, well, why shouldn't he? If the stadium cost him 8 million, why should he have to fund it all out of his own pocket? Anyway, we won't go down that route, but that's kind of symptomatic of how sometimes football fans can be a tad ungrateful. One thing I want before you go,
Yes, no problem.
right? Aside from styles of play, Notts and Wrexham have gone about promotion this season very different ways. Aside from the money, you've gone. We've both spent a lot of money, whatever anyone says, but you've gone with a very big squad. Yeah, a big
Yeah.
squad packed out. We were at a situation. We've gone with a small squad. And we were at a situation a few days ago where we only had 3 outfield players on the bench, so we didn't fill the bench. you
Mm.
know, at a promotion running. We've had a few injuries and all the rest of it. We've gone with a very small squad. Um, you guys have gone with a huge squad. And it's interesting because sometimes people will say small squad people playing regular, that's good. Other times you want a big pool of players. I certainly think you are potentially better placed to withstand injuries because we had Martin Allen on here, who's a legend at Notts, and he called it 3 weeks ago. He said both teams are going to get injuries. He said, and both teams, he said, will drop points. They're not perhaps dropped as many points, but equally, we've dropped points at places where we kind of think we'll win every game. And about 2 days after he made those comments, of course, you had the injuries in the cup run, and he said it is impossible not to play that many games without picking up injuries. And of course, we've picked up a lot of injuries as well. So it's interesting. Do you guys feel kind of insulated a bit given the huge numbers you've got there?
Yeah, I mean, totally. I mean, we lost our best defender, Aaron Hayden, scored 11 goals. Yeah, that was in any. I mean, that killed us last season. I think that really ended our. Obviously, we've got to defend a lot better in that Grimsby game, but with him there, I just refuse to believe that we would have looked so vulnerable defensively. Yeah, I was at Weymouth, a game we were 6-1. We won 6-1 and everyone was deflated because we'd lost our best defender. That happened again in the Notts County game. You were able to go and buy because we don't have that rule now where we were the only team who couldn't get anyone because of international clearance and yada yada yada. We went and got Owen O'Connell out of Charlton and suddenly bang, another League One defender. Great. So he slotted in and now we're talking on our channels about what the hell's our back three when everyone's fit? Aaron Hayden's back in a week, 2 weeks. Is he going to come straight back in, or are we going to leave it as it is? We didn't have Rob Lainton for months. He was injured. Got Mark Howard in. That was up and down. Now Lainton's back in. Our best player in 2023, Tom O'Connor, he's injured still. He's back in a couple of weeks. So we lost almost the spine of the team. And really, I think everyone in our team is replaceable except for Paul Mullin. I think he's the only one where if he's injured, there's no replacement. There's nobody who. I mean, Sam Dolby's great as a kind of replacement for Ollie Palmer or vice versa. Ollie Palmer, they can swap in and out. Paul Mullen's the only one who, in seriousness, every other position has a vice that could step up that we'd be happy with. He's the only one who probably like Langstaff for yourselves. There's just nobody that could really fill the boots that they have, and we've gone for a big squad deliberately so that when you lose Tom O'Connor, you lose Aaron Hayden, you don't feel the bite that we felt last season.
Yeah,
That's what I would say.
yeah. One last point. Pitch. Is your pitchers struggling or
It's
not?
naff, isn't it? It's not very good. I mean, look, people. I saw some people judging it after for the South End game. I mean, it was a miracle that game was even on. In terms of the pitch was
Yeah.
rubbish, but I mean, it was covered in snow, and that was what it was. But I have to say that I can't quite wrap my head around. Look, training on the pitch and everything it clearly isn't helping it.
You train
I
on the
know,
pitch?
yeah, we don't have a dedicated training ground, and I know that they do
Really?
sessions on the pitch, and that obviously can't help over the long. They're working on. I think they found a couple of sites they like for a training ground, and they want to build this really nice facility that will, be brilliant when we have it
Yeah.
in the coming years. And I've no doubt that the infrastructure of the new stand and the training facility and the gym and everything be state of the art. What's Ryan Reynolds sold Mint Mobile for today? 1 point something billion. Yeah, they're not going to be short on cash, but the pitch is a strange one because I feel like you can keep spending on it and yet something's not. I don't know. I don't understand grass that well. I'm sure maybe someone else does, but it's not great. I have to say it, given where we are and in the money we've pumped into it, it's not great. I have to say, it's not amazing, but at this point, we're near the end, aren't we? And what they do in the summer, will they look at it? I'm sure they'll look at it, because we've
Yeah.
had so many soft tissue injuries that at home as well. That all our injuries haven't been at home, but a lot of them have. And you know, one of the things to look at is it the pitch? Are we just been unlucky with collisions, or is the pitch causing issues? I don't know. I'm not. That's way over my podcasting knowledge, unfortunately. But I think Easter Monday, the pitch has got to be a leveler for us. It's got to be because you're gonna look at that, and if it's Hackney Marshes, which I'm not sure won't be that bad, but if it is, then your pass style that I fawn over now and again when I get to see the highlights, isn't going to do much good. I don't think. I think that long throw might be much better suited. So we'll see. And no, I'm not going to give you a score prediction for Easter Monday, Paul. I'm going to say that Wrexham do not lose the game. That's what I would say. I think Wrexham. I'll go a draw. I think. I think it'll get so hyped up, and there'll be so much build up and so much hoopla that the game almost can't live up to it. I almost think the game just cannot live up to this billing of winner takes all type thing, because it won't. The winner won't take it all. It'll just go on to the next game, and we've got to go then to Barnet, and you'll have to go to, I don't know where you have to go after that, but it,
Can we
it's
have
going
that
to go
ref?
to wire.
Yeah. Can we have that
Which
ref,
one?
please, Nathan? The one that you have. That the stat is you've had him about 3 or 4 times, and he's sent off one of your
Well,
players every game. He's refed you.
we had him the other day, Paul Marsden, for the South End game. So I think people were saying, "Oh God, oh God," and then we got away with one with the kind of, "Is it a foul on the keeper? Has he just fumbled it in?" So maybe our Paul Marsden luck is turning, but I'm not going to jinx it. Hopefully, if he's in charge, I think there'll be a sharp intake of breath, Paul, from our side anyway. Our side.
Nathan, I know you're on shift tonight, so
Thank you so
I'll let you
much.
crack on. Thank you ever so much
Oh,
indeed.
Ian
Um,
Birchnell with the 3-0 Notts Macca hat trick. Mullin red for 2 dives. On that note, Ian, enjoy
We've been
Anderlecht,
so
and
respectful all night,
there you
Nathan.
go.
Suddenly, Inger's
No
the night.
problem.
Hey, look
But
after
yes,
yourself, Nathan.
thanks
We'll be
so
in
much.
touch.
Take care, Paul.
Take
Thanks for
care.
having me on.
Thank you. Okay, guys, there we go. You got me for the last 5-10 minutes. Going to be a little bit of a shorter show tonight. Right, which means for me to shut up a little bit, I want to hear some of your thoughts. So, what do we think of Nathan there, and the thoughts from Wrexham? What do we think of the new signing? Undisclosed fee, 3-year or 2 and a bit years contract. Clearly, we need boots on the ground, don't we? Although whether quite when he's going to be fit, is it a thumbs up for the signing? Over 20 goals in 50 odd appearances for Dagenham. Certainly knows where the net is. What do we think about that? And also, your thoughts, please, on the ticketing situation tomorrow. So we've got about 1,000, and you can either queue outside the ground, or you can go online to order, which I'm hoping that the vast majority of the people that want to go get the tickets. I'm a little bit surprised the club's not been able to get itself into a position where season ticket holders who travel regularly to away games didn't get a slight tier of priority, even if it was only half a day or a day. If you've been to 10 away games or more this season or whatever, unfortunately, I'm told the club don't have that data in their ticketing system to be able to ascertain that. And I guess a little bit surprised that, and please don't take this the wrong way, members of the Official Supporters Association and Lifeline, I'm a bit surprised we've added another category into the mix to be able to kind of all dive in for tickets tomorrow. Look, I'll be taking my chances. I'm sure we all will. And if there are 900 Malcolm Shearstons, Irish Smith, Akos coaches who literally do every game, then they are the people that should all be going. And if you're 901st or 1,000th behind them, I don't think you can have too many complaints. But I'll be interested. I just hope the vast majority of Notts fans that are used to going to away games are able to get tickets. Let us know how you're going to be trying to get those tickets. Thoughts on our new signing. Quite impressed, says Jurgen Halligan. Good record for the Daggers. Paul Farnsworth says, in the owners we trust. Duncan Comrie says, a very astute signing. Tim Alsop, slightly different viewpoint. I can't understand why we've signed him because he hasn't scored a hat-trick against us. There you go. We'll get there. Ian Birchinall, luckily, brackets unluckily, I can't make Wrexham. So no stress for me tomorrow. Good luck to all wanting a ticket. Keith Mullins says a good signing from what I've seen of him. In Cooksey, very fair comments regarding tickets. James Shipley, bought my BT Sport Pass already, not even going to try to get a Wrexham ticket. Jurgen Halligan online with phone in hand, laptop on the table. Jurgen as well. Second mobile. You got your dodgy mobile you use. You got that one hooked in as well. Zo, if Junior's fit fairly quickly, good for now. In terms of future, they must see something to develop. Derek Flowers, why do we keep signing players coming back from injury? Obviously, he's past a medical, but when will he be ready to play? Ian Birchnell says, I think Junior is a good addition. Does that mean Scott is longer out than we thought? Keith Mullins, I can't get the BT stream for love nor money. Is that Keith who's currently out in the States? I managed to get it quite straightforwardly actually on my laptop when I was in LA, Keith. It worked like a dream, and to be fair, it didn't even have to pay a tenner. Got it for free. Matt Pigeon online. Why on phone to club shop? I'm not quite sure the point there, Matt. The club have kind of said to season ticket holders, don't use the phone because it doesn't stack calls very well, and their recommendation from the club, which came out in an email tonight, is to go online. Dave Woolley, I hope the new lad isn't a sign that we are preparing to lose Macca. Yeah, thought had crossed my mind on that one, must admit. Yeah, Matt Pigeon, also laptop and work phone. Yeah. Paul Farnsworth, daggers don't seem to be happy. Always a positive. Andrew Blatherwick, Nathan, as in our Wrexham man, is quality. Always talks sense. Any other final comments? As I say, we'll wrap up a little bit earlier tonight. Off to bed because we're all up at 5 o'clock in the morning for those of us going down the ground, aren't we? I'm told there will be a lot of people at the ground tomorrow. And people do seem to be getting ready to go early. Is anyone camping out? Do you remember those old days years ago with the Christmas and New Year sales? And on the TV news, you always used to have people in a tent that will be camping out 3 days to get a television that was reduced from 500 quid to £27.50, and they were first in line, and they were queuing up for days. We'll see. Keith Mullins, I'd pay full ticket price if I could get it. Jurgen Halligan, in terms of Mariason, who possibly longer term he could replace. I was thinking more Ruben, says Jurgen. Andrew Blatherwick, I would have thought a priority system would have been fairer. Look, I totally agree. I mentioned it to the club a little while ago, but apparently the system they've got at the minute, for whatever reason, they can't log people that have purchased previous away games. I certainly think, that is something to investigate and take away ahead of tomorrow. It's very difficult to prioritise people, but I do think if you go to virtually every game, I do think you deserve a level of priority over others, and I think it's very difficult to argue against that. Chris Jordan, anyone watching in MLSB? Those numbers, I suspect, Chris, will be governed by those who get tickets and those who don't. Paul Farnsworth, Paul, where's Stell? Stell's on a mini little break. He's gone to a boot camp. He reckons he's got a chance of still being able to get on the bench after seeing only 3 people there. So he's gone on a fitness boot camp for a week or so. Jurgen Halligan, Torquay queues were fun there at 6 a.m. Zedo, if we are on their coattails or better, I'm not sure I can watch or listen. Garden or long walk till 5 p.m. Paul Farnsworth, think the club should explore putting a big screen on to watch. I think, Paul, that whatever happens, there will be the opportunity to watch the game at the club. I'm sure the navigation, Dave Willens and the boys would be doing likewise. So at least you're insulated that you will be able to watch the game and potentially watch it with groups of fans. And I think Chris Jordan's saying, Paul, they are showing it in the MLS, but I thought they were on a big screen. Why wouldn't they be? Okay, I think that probably we've done 40. We've done a first half tonight. I think that'll about do it for tonight. Thank you very much for listening and watching as always. Off to bed early, get up early in the morning to queue or whatever it is you're going to be doing to try and get tickets for Wrexham. And then we're off to Barnet on Saturday. Effectively, I think we're all going to have to drive or go on a bus. Although I, like many of you, thought that train strikes were all off, close to agreeing a deal. The train strikes are on, and it's basically not doable to do it on the railway network on Saturday. So you are basically going to need to go down car or bus. Look forward to seeing everyone there. As Ian Birchinall says, safe travels to anyone going to Barnet. Jurgen Halligan, do a podcast tomorrow to see who got tickets. God dear, that'll be a bit like the us and them, wouldn't it? That'll do for tonight, guys. I'll let you all crack on with the rest of your evenings and look forward to catching up season. Thanks for taking part in the show tonight. Thanks to Nathan for his Wrexham thoughts. Informative as always. And these kind of shows do, and other podcasts that Notts fans produce, do show we can have a proper, rational, constructive, and I think the key word here is respectful debate. One takeaway from Nathan's comments there: 15 years for Wrexham in the National League. I mean, gee, that is kind of really, really. Hesitate to say worrying, because we're all doing everything we can to get promoted, but that's a long time out of the Football League, and let's hope 4 years is the max that we are going to spend out of it. Keith Mullins, thanks, Paul. It's the first time I've ever listened to this podcast live. That's good, Keith. Keep tuning and dialing in. We try and make it as informative and as entertaining as possible. That's it for now. Take care. See you all soon.